Hello Magic fans, I'm Beef and welcome back to another Historic Brawl gameplay video, and it's one of our last days of Magicmas, and today we are playing the OG Atraxa Praetor's Voice. Much like Mythweaver Pox, this is one of the more popular commanders in Brawl, and it is actually very powerful, but unlike Pock, it's actually fair. So who is the original Atraxa? Obviously we have seen Atraxa in standard for a while, but this is a much cheaper and smaller, but in some ways more powerful version of Atraxa. So Atraxa is 4 mana, the same 4 mana as the newer Atraxa, so basically all of the colours apart from red. It's 4/4 with flying, vigilance, theft, touch, lifelink, so they're very good stats and the same as the newer Atraxa, apart from the newer Atraxa 7/7. But then the simple power of, at the beginning of your end step, proliferate. Proliferate basically means choose any number of players or permanents with counters on them, add an additional counter of each type that permanent has. So if someone has a poison counter, you can increase it. If a creature has a +1/+1 counter, you can put another on it. And more importantly, if a planeswalker has a loyalty counter on, which they will, all planeswalkers do, you can add another loyalty counter on it. It can be your permanents, it can be opponent's permanents, but obviously you don't want to be giving an opponent's planeswalker extra loyalty, but said if they have a poison counter, you may want to proliferate that. Well, we don't have any poison synergies in our deck. So I said, we are a planeswalker or super friends deck, and obviously we have, how many do you have? 27 planeswalkers and 13 creatures, and in fact one creature is a creature and a planeswalker. I'm not going to go through them all, but we do have some big hitters. We have quite a few of the War of the Spark planeswalkers, which have sack abilities like Narset, which means opponents can't draw more than one card each turn, and then we can tick down to find a non-creature, non-land card in our top 4. Dove in, we can tick down to prevent all damage that would be dealt to and by a target permanent opponent controls. It's a good way to basically whiff a blocker, and it increases the cost of our opponent's artifact, instants, and sorcery spells. Ashiok causes our spells and abilities our opponents control. Spells and abilities our opponents control can't cause their controller to search the library, so they can't crack fetch lands. And then we can mill and exile graveyards. Cure is another popular one. We can untap target permanent, such as a land or a creature, and then we also draw a card whenever a creature with power 4 control enters under our control, and obviously Atraxa has power 4 or greater. But then we do have some removal: Wandering Emperor, Liliana of the Veil, Teferi can bounce, and then so can other Teferi. We do have fewer Teferis, and Teferi is also really powerful. Turn of Wanderer can act as a board wipe. Liliana basically can do the same and draw a lot of cards. Vraska is a way for us to give our opponent poison counters, which we can proliferate. It also lets us proliferate as well. We've got 2 big Garruks. One creates 2 wolves, destroys creatures, and then gives an emblem, which gives our creatures +3/+3 in trample. Massive Ajani, which is really powerful as well. And Nissa, that -7 is not really the win that it usually is, because it's a 4 mana deck, a 4 card deck. We don't often have a lot of forest down, but obviously it does let us create big tokens and then destroy artifacts and enchantments. And a good thing about any planeswalker with -1 is with proliferate, it's essentially a 0, so that's really powerful. Next up, we have some other proliferate synergies. Innkeeper's Talent puts a +1/+1 counter on a creature, so if we put it on a Atraxa, we can start proliferating that counter. We can level it up, and then permanents we control with counters on them have ward. Obviously all our planeswalkers have counters on them, and then we can level it up again to double the amount of counters we put on permanents we control. Whenever we put a counter on anything, including poison counters such as from Vraska, it doubles up. If you've been watching the channel or been paying attention in the last few months, you will see the Innkeeper's Talent, Vraska Betrayal Sting combo in standard. Next up, we have Dreamtide Whale, a 3 mana 7/5, so a huge Bonnie, but it has Vanishing too. I can't remember if Vanishing is an old mechanic, but it's very similar to a really old mechanic called Fading. So it comes into play with 2 time counters on it. We go over upkeep, we remove a time counter, and then when we remove the last one, we sacrifice the creature. So in theory, we play it next turn, we can attack for 7, and then we sacrifice the next turn. But it itself does have, whenever a player casts a second spell each turn, Proliferate, which is a way to add vanishing counters on it. And obviously, Atraxa can add those counters on it as well. Broker's Ascendancy, at the beginning of an end step, put +1/+1 counter on each creature and a loyalty counter on each planeswalker control, which is really powerful. An Astral Cornucopia is one of the best cards in the deck. It's a /X, and it enters with X charge counters on it, and we can tap it to choose a colour, then add 1 mana of that colour for each charge counter on Astral Cornucopia. So we play this, X = 1, so we can pay 3, and then obviously with Atraxa, it just proliferates, up to 2, 3, 4, so it just ramps their mana by a huge amount. Next up, we have some other Planeswalker synergies. So we have 4 of the Oaths. Oaths are cards which are Planeswalker related, spread out through a few different sets. We do have a couple of them which are new in Pioneer Masters, such as Oath of Nissa and Oath of Jace. Oath of Nissa, when it comes down, we look at the top 3 cards of a library, may reveal a creature, land, or Planeswalker card and put them into a hand, and then we may spend mana's vote or mana of any colour to cast Planeswalker spells. Oath of Vajani, when it enters, we put a +1/+1 counter on each creature, then Planeswalker spells we cast cost 1 less cards, very, very powerful. Oath of Jace, when it enters, draw 3, discard 2, and again, about upkeep, we squire X, where X is the number of Planeswalkers control, and probably the most powerful is Oath of Teferi. It's also the most expensive. When it enters, we can flick another permanent we control to maybe rebuy an ATB or reset a Planeswalker's loyalty counters and reuse that loyalty counter again. But it also lets us activate a loyalty ability of Planeswalkers control twice each turn rather than only once, which is incredibly powerful. Next up, we just have some ramp, the usual standard stuff. We do have Bloom Tender, which is great in a 4-mana 4-colour deck because it will tap for 4 colours when we have our commander in play. Fnatic Avonus, again, can tap for 4 if we control a creature with power 4 greater, which obviously Atraxa is. And Jaya Engineer lets us tap for green and blue, and Faebara Elder is similar to Bloom Tender. It'll be a 4/4, and we can tap it for, it's one of each colour, so it will tap for green, white, blue and black. Next up, removal. We are a bit of a go long deck, so we do have a lot of sweepers, as well as Source of Plowshare, Cyclonic Rifter, bounce everything, and then Toxic Deluge, depopulate, no witnesses, Doomscut, Sunfall and Farewell, just to remove our opponent's board. And sometimes we can remove our own board. If we've got a suitably big Astral Cornucopia, we're not particularly bothered about replaying cards. And next up, everything else. Brainstorm, Rhystic Study. Shalai gives us Planeswalkers and other creatures we control hexproof, and we can pump mana into it to put a counter on each creature. Spark Doll, come down as a copy of any permanent we control. Well, sorry, a creature or Planeswalker we control, except it has additional +1/+1 counter on it if it's a creature, or an additional loyalty counter if it's a Planeswalker, and it isn't legendary, so we can copy Atraxa and get those proliferate doubled up. Tekethal just doubles the amount of proliferate we do. Well, if we proliferate twice instead. Doubling Season doubles the amount of counters we put on things, and obviously the combo with Planeswalkers is if we got Doubling Season down, or Vorinclex, which does the same thing, it will double the amount of counters to go on it, so meaning we can ultimate some Planeswalkers straight away. And I said Vorinclex does that, but it also halves the amount of counters that our opponents put on their permanents. So that's the deck. Mana base, it's 4 colours, so the mana base can be a bit squiffy. You might notice that we don't have Interplanar Beacon in here. I did for a bit. Interplanar Beacon gains us a life whenever we play a Planeswalker, and we have a lot of Planeswalkers. However, it cannot tap for coloured mana unless it's cast on a Planeswalker, and since our commander isn't a Planeswalker and doesn't have a generic mana cost in it, we need to make sure that all our lands tap for a colour so we can cast Atraxa on schedule. So that's the deck. She is really, really powerful. A 4/4 flying vigilance, death touch, lifelink for 4 mana is incredibly powerful anyway, and she herself can just win games. But being able to proliferate on our Planeswalkers, get up to those ultimates, or not worry about ticking down because we're just going to get the counter back is absolutely bonkers. She's really, really fun to play. She's really, really powerful. So I really, really enjoy playing her. It's understandable why she is one of the most popular commanders on Arena. So I hope you all enjoy her too. If you do, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the gameplay. We're against Voja. Voja is a very hard deck to play against. We are on the play though. Turn 1 halfling. We have got Meticulous Archive. So I think we get Temple Garden. Turn 2 we can Surveil and get down the Bloom Tender. They have their own halfling. Next turn we can get down Atraxa, I think. Yeah, so let's keep that land. We've got nothing to proliferate yet. But next turn we can Cornucopia for 1. What colours do we have? Green, white, white, blue. Let's see if we can get... Let's get a blue-black Surveyor land. I don't think I'm going to play that. We get x equals 1. We can't pay the ward. Doesn't have oh, it does have vigilance. We can bounce Voja, I think. Yeah, we can. We can pay for the ward. See what they do. They are thinking about it. They are thinking about something hard. Voja will get everything very big, and I don't want that. They are really taking their time. how much? So if we put this on, well, let's... I think we can do this and over to Fairy.
You realize I do not stand alone. Every fight is for her.
I don't want to exile a Johnny.
Between blade and belief, I will always
That's a pretty big board. They can put the Swiftfoot boots on Boja, but obviously having a 16/16 Death Toucher, lifelink. Their own Bloom Tender. I mean, I don't think they've got what they need. Yeah, doubling season and proliferate's a bit bonkers. So they can tap for 3 mana. 1 red, green, white. Fair enough. I mean, that's still not enough to kill me. Because obviously Atraxa does have flying. And yeah, we're up to 50. And obviously next turn we can just absolutely ruin them with Atraxa. We go first with a pretty slow hand. But Fanatic of Ronus is pretty good. And hopefully we draw more lands. So we need to get black with Marsh Flats. They crack their bauble, they do not. Let's get an overgrown 2. Oh, let's just get down the Triome. That's not that bad. We don't really have many ETB triggers. I don't think there's anything fancy we can do with the mana left over from Fnatic. Just hope they haven't got a counterspell. Or a bounce spell. We've got double black. Let's get blue-white Surveil. I don't need more land. I think next turn we can play out Davriel and Tamio. Let's go black, black, green.
The moon looks intriguing tonight.
These two. And then
Here, have some of my notes.
My services are not cheap.
sure, that doesn't really bother me. Anyway, so they can't go off with Efflux Reservoir. They're going to gain quite a bit of life. I need a way to be able to bounce Efflux Reservoir. They've got no creatures in their graveyard, do they? No.
Listen and learn.
Oh, please behave yourselves.
Is the reservoir going to come back screw us. Yeah, they probably should have used that to bounce. I think they misclicked. Done that before. And yeah, they would have had to have bounced the whale, otherwise that would get in for lethal. Yeah, none of our planeswalkers are fantastic against non-creature things. One of the Deferis can bounce anything, I think, or put it third from top. And yeah, Tasha's only really good against creature decks. So yeah, we managed to get there in the end though. That's all I can say. So mono black deck, so going to be lots of removal. Our opponent does go first, but Broker's Ascendancy is always pretty good. A Yara straight out. Wow, that was a turn from them. Do they have removal for Atraxa? Well, we don't this turn. Well, let's get down. Let's get down Lolf.
I will show you what happens when the subservience will be rewarded.
They get back Victimize. Well, I think we do get down Narset. It turns off their draw.
So many mysteries to uncover. Keep an open mind.
Let's just proliferate. Oh, they went everything. They need removal for Atraxa then. I only have one forest for Nissa.
For me.
Well, they're up to 11. That's pretty good.
I do quite enjoy necromancy.
Well, let's just play out Spyro's headquarters. And yeah, we...
My blade has no equal.
You can have... You want one.
And I will cull the weak.
Let's create some more spiders for now, and we'll tack down Liliana.
Don't conquer me so easily.
I'm interested to see what they do. They left Iara in their graveyard. Yeah, that's a problem. We can destroy it with Nissa if we need to. And yeah, we will just sacrifice one of our spiders. And what we can do... Well, one, actually, they can't block any of our... they can get back something, but they wouldn't be able to block. They can only block one of our spiders, so we had lethal anyway. But then what we can do is just proliferate a few times and then -8 on love, which basically causes us to do... If we do less than 8 damage, we deal 8 damage to our opponent. I'm against Alicia, so a black-red reanimator deck. We do go first with an okay hand. We do need an additional land for Atraxa. And obviously for a Lighted Halfling not to be killed. Well, let's surveil with undersea sewers. Sure, let's go with that for now. So that reduces the cost of our reduces the cost of our planeswalkers, of which we have a few. We've got a couple in hand. Wow, probably don't need that. But we can flash in the Wandering Emperor. Oh, they don't attack. Wow, we've just drawn all our Surveyor lands. Well, we can play out Atraxa. Let's buff Atraxa.
Remember your training.
And yeah, I will take a Davriel. They didn't have removal. Have they drawn into it? I think that was a waste putting a life, a death touch counter on Banehound. They could have put it on like Alicia.
I would run if I were you.
Well, let's play out the archive. Don't need more lands. Can I play Davriel and Teferi? So black 1. No, not quite. I think I'll play out Davriel though. And we'll tick up.
May your blade strike.
And Atraxa does have vigilance. That's fine. Now, so they want to get back the vessel, so it creates a demon. can't discard a card. That's fine.
That's that.
Now we do have a 7/7. Oh, I didn't mean to do that.
My services are not cheap.
Let's Spark Double as a copy of Atraxa. Yeah. Oh yeah. That's oh well, not a problem.
I know peasants who hit harder.
Well, exile all creatures, exile all graveyards.
Don't bother me, or else. I'm terminating our contract.
I can no longer stand by and watch. I've got time.
We will Teferi, obviously gets double the counters from doubling season.
I won't let you win.
We will get let's get an overgrown tomb. We have 3, 6, 7. We should be able to do this.
I've got it. Enough.
Place on green and let's Innkeeper's Talent. Oh, we can't because we're And yeah, opponent scoops it up. Proliferate will just add on 2 counters because of doubling season. So yeah, we kind of just run away with it. We're at 37 life as well. Yeah, sometimes adding black to all our cost of casting spells can be a bit of an issue. But yeah, next time we can Innkeeper's Talent, which also helps us when we proliferate, and then yeah, play out Sorin and we transform it when we attack with Atraxa.